Let's take a look at another area of something very similar. It's called the Older Workers Reduction Act. This actually is, maybe if it's done well, this actually helps employees in the aspect of retiree to actually leave early through an early retirement program. An early retirement program, there's a lot of merit to it. In the aspect of, okay, you want to reduce your workforce, okay, identify the cost overall. There's programs out there that'll come in and assist you out there in the aspect of providing this aspect of it financially to help you accomplish this. So I've done this a couple times. If you want to sit down there and reduce your overall workforce, a lot of times you do want to get some of your older people retired because they do end up on the top end of the spectrum, but it's going to cost you money. So the money typically might be increased benefits. You may actually sit down some places they'll extend insurance benefits for X number of years. Sometimes you give a compensation package that includes, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to give you 7 months salary, 8 months salary, 9 months salary. We're going to give you a salary package and benefits at the same time if you leave by this date, and boom, all of a sudden it happens. You got to pay some additional money, but overall, if you start measuring how much money you'll be saving long term, and by the way, these only work if you don't replace them. So keep that in mind. If you want a reduction in force, you're actually going for a reduction in force. You could, in theory, have this type of a program and just reduce it overall just by providing some type of buyout package. And you can actually save money because no matter what happens, if you hire somebody, you have several months of lag time between the time somebody leaves and the time they come in. Typically, it's not uncommon to sit down by the time you're all done determining who's left in the process. You're looking 3 months to 9 months of lag time when not every position is filled, and sometimes that goes for a year, and sometimes you may find out you didn't need to fill all the positions. But normally, you would actually do a series reduction in force through a program like this and not replace them or replace a minimal. You might lose, depending upon the size of your organization, you might lose X number over here, 30 or 40 of them. Let's use the number 40, and then only hire back 7 positions that sit down and do some type of work that's similar to them. And so you'll save a massive amount of money. And the people leave with a good flavor in their mouth, and you probably have no lawsuits if you follow the rules over here. You really, on this program, you have to have a waiver. It prohibits age discrimination regardless of the employee benefits. You have to have a waiver. They need to sign the waiver in the process. And there's actually 7 steps to this whole aspect. Written in a manner calculated to be understood by an average employee. In other words, keep the lawyers, make them do the boilerplate, and make certain that a normal person can read them without having to have a law degree. Seems like we specialize so much that we don't focus in as to what exactly is normal. So average employee. Make certain the waiver specifically refers to the rights and claims, that they're going to waive all that. Okay, waive that claims will ever be happen in exchange for some consideration, and the consideration usually is the buyout package. The employee is always advised to consult with an attorney prior to the execution of a waiver. You always advise them in writing, but if you buy a pre-canned program for this, they'll include all the language in there. The employee has to give 21 days to consider signing the waiver, an additional 7 days to revoke it. So you'll have 21 days. People are rushing, they'll sign up in the process, and then they can revoke it 7 days afterwards, because sometimes people jump before they think about the aspect. And then if it's executed with an exit incentive, early retirement, or whatever, the employer must inform the employee about the exact terms and inclusions in the program. So if you do a lot of preparation, this works extremely smoothly. If you've never done it before, the high probability is that you'll have a couple of bumps no matter how well planned that you are. It contains provisions about early retirement plans, about the minimum age involved, if it really is focused about early retirement. The benefit plan, you have to put that all in there. You need to make certain it articulates with Social Security supplements and also Medicare if that's appropriate. And then if you're going to have a severance pay, it can't be based upon their age. It can be based upon years of service, typically, is how you go about doing that. A lot of times you're going to use some type of evidence to show if it truly is a matter of using this for an age reduction because of the fact that your older employees would have more benefit regarding that. So the aspect of looking at the standard of 2 or 3 standard deviations variation If you have more, if you even have three, you're going to have some suspicion on it, and you may be open to a lawsuit in the process. So make certain if you have people that are leaving, okay, and that is a normal year, that you don't have 200 or 300% increase because of the fact you're just dumping them out the door because they're older. Make certain you can't be accused of that, because if somebody has an opportunity, you could be on the end of a lawsuit regarding that. The context is crucial. Make certain you're tracking who did it and why they did it. Make sure the paperwork is all done. Relief, this is not a positive thing. Relief is a matter of if you are sued and you have to pay monetary damages. Sometimes it's reinstatement. Sometimes it's reinstatement with a promotion. Sometimes an injunction to cease and desist. Okay, if you don't provide adequate money, back pay that they feel is owed them, or front pay for something if you want them not to come back, then you need to sit down and pay attention to all the impact it's going to have on your organization. Whenever you have somebody leave an organization, to some extent, there's a vacuum and a void. And when you have a vacuum and a void, you'll have some pushback from within the organization. Very few people will cheer for the employer, even if you check all the boxes properly and people leave. If one person is disgruntled, if you're looking for people to cheer you on that you've done this, you always have some people pushing back. ERISA, it regulates the private employee benefit plans. This is actually pretty helpful in a lot of different ways, but it's not based upon age. You have to make certain that it's a savings plan for long-term retirement, and it makes everything portable to some extent. But the big thing about ERISA is carrying forward benefits from one job to the next. It regulates that aspect of it, and also into the retirement plan provisions. This needs to be considered when you're actually considering it. Here is all the micro detail that can come here. Okay, the plan information, it requires plans to be provided to participants. Minimum standards, what's involved to participate. Vesting, okay, you might have to work 3 years or 5 years to work. We call that, okay, if you have a time period as to how long you're employed, we call that vesting. So if in the plan, you must be here 10 years to get this benefit over here, okay, and then you can have it for X number of years afterwards if you leave. You have a vestment period, so how many years that's involved. Okay, fiduciary responsibilities, those who manage and control the assets, you have to adhere to some specific regulations. You have to have a grievance and then an appeals process on top of that. And they can have a right to sue for benefits if there's a breach in the fiduciary responsibility. So pay attention to all the different aspects of it. A lot of times there's going to be an arbitration clause in all the different policies, forcing people to actually go to arbitration rather than court. That's almost standard in a lot of different benefits, because of the fact arbitration is far shorter than a court period, and also it usually ends up in more positive action for both parties if you can pull that off. Older Workers Act and ERISA. Older Workers Benefit Protection Act has clear definitions for early retirement plan. This is one of those things of, I realize keeping PowerPoint slides is maybe not on the top of your bailiwick, but the reality of it is if you're going to go into some type of role where you're going to be in charge of employment law, you need to have all the details. We have a lot of them here, but of course you have the internet and so on. It's a high detail program, and it takes some good coordination, lots of communication, because you will have questions and you have to be patient enough to make sure you answer them. And if you don't know the answer, find out what the answer is. Make certain that your plan is protected legally and that you've explained it clearly to all the employees and you answer all the questions. And that way everything can go smoothly. If you don't cross the T's and dot the I's in this plan, things can go sideways in a big, fast way. So make certain that when they're leaving, on the way out the door, that they get a good positive handshake, and this act can do it if you follow it right. Take care.